What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 14, Thursday Night Football. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you my top picks for the Thursday Night Football Showdown between the New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, Thursday Night Football, let's take a look at the quarterback position. So I like Jared Goff from the LA Rams playing the New England Patriots, who have a good defense overall, and they've been good versus opposing quarterbacks, but Jared Goff has averaged 19.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 3.3 rush attempts per game. He scored 27, 6, and 28 fantasy points in the last 3 games, and he's going to be about 72% owned, projected at 18.2 fantasy points here tonight. He's 11,000 DraftKings salary. Vegas thinks there's going to be 44.5 points scored in this game, with the Rams favored by 5. So I like Jared Goff here versus the New England Patriots. But I also like Cam Newton. And ignore that questionable tag that you may see next to his name. He didn't practice last week one day. He was questionable. And he ended up putting up 24 fantasy points with 2 rushing touchdowns on the ground with 14 rush attempts. He's averaging 19.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9.6 rush attempts per game. He's going to be about 71% owned, projected at 17.8 fantasy points here tonight, and he's 10,600 DraftKings salary. So I also like Cam Newton here versus the LA Rams. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. For the New England Patriots, we got Damian Harris, who's averaging 10.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 14 rush attempts per game. He scored 11, 5, and 12 fantasy points in the last 3 games, and he's going to be about 32% owned, projected at 8.9 fantasy points here tonight. He's 8,800 DraftKings salary. So he's the lead back for the New England Patriots. He gets most of the workload at the running back position. He's been pretty good, although he hasn't had a super high scoring game. And he's got a tough matchup here versus the Rams. But I like Damian Harris here versus the LA Rams. Maybe my favorite running back on the slate is Cam Akers from the LA Rams playing the New England Patriots, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense defending opposing running backs. Cam Akers scored 16, 14, and 9 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 21, 9, and 5 rush attempts. So you can see his rushing volume has been almost doubling every week for the past 3 weeks. 21 rush attempts last week. He's going to be about 35% owned, projected at 10.7 fantasy points here tonight. He's 8,000 DraftKings salary. Now the Rams are favored by 5, so it's possible they get ahead in this game and it becomes a running game script. So I like Cam Akers here versus the New England Patriots. Real quick guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. For the LA Rams, I'm going to go over the 3 wide receivers that you should consider playing in your lineups tonight. My favorite of the 3 is Robert Woods from the LA Rams playing the New England Patriots, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense defending opposing wide receivers. Robert Woods has averaged 17.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.2 pass targets per game, and he gets a couple of rush attempts per game as well. He scored 19, 16, and 34 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's on the field for 89% of the snaps, and he's going to be about 51% owned, projected at 15.7 fantasy points here tonight, and he's $9,200 DraftKings salary. So I like Robert Woods here versus the New England Patriots. And then we have Cooper Kupp from the LA Rams, averaging 15.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8.8 pass targets per game. He scored 15, 6, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's going to be about 56% owned, and he's on the field for 82% of the snaps. Projected at 14.9 fantasy points here tonight, he's $9,600 DraftKings salary. So I like Cooper Kupp here versus the New England Patriots. Now, if you're looking to save some salary at the wide receiver position, take a look at Josh Reynolds from the LA Rams, averaging 8.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.1 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 73% of the snaps. He's going to be about 21% owned, projected at 8.5 fantasy points here tonight, and he's $5,600 DraftKings salary. So I like Josh Reynolds here versus the New England Patriots. Now for the New England Patriots, I like Jacoby Myers, averaging 9.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.3 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 37% owned, projected at 11.3 fantasy points here tonight, and he's $6,800 DraftKings salary. So with the Patriots expected to be trailing by 5 in this game, it could be a passing game script. Although Cam Newton doesn't throw a lot of passing touchdowns, so that's the risk that you run into when you're playing these New England wide receivers. But I do like Jacoby Myers here versus the LA Rams. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. The only 2 playable tight ends here are from the LA Rams. The Patriots just don't have any quality tight ends on the field. But for the LA Rams, you got Tyler Higbee, who's averaging 8.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 3.9 pass targets per game. He's going to be about 14% owned, and he's on the field for 77% of the snaps, projected at 8.5 fantasy points here tonight. So I like Tyler Higbee here versus the New England Patriots. And the second tight end for the LA Rams is Gerald Everett, averaging 6.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 3.7 pass targets per game. Now, he scored 10 fantasy points last week off of 7 pass targets, and he's projected at 6.8 fantasy points here tonight, and he's only $3,400 DraftKings salary. So Gerald Everett is probably the guy that I'm going to go to if I want to make my lineup different and save some salary. So I like Gerald Everett here versus the New England Patriots.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.